The galaxy was on the edge of collapse. After decades of war, humanity's fight against the alien empire had reached a breaking point. The aliens had crushed every resistance, leaving the humans scattered and hopeless. But in the shadows of an abandoned world, a whisper of hope remained a secret weapon, long forgotten, that could turn the tide of the war. It was called the Starlight Key. Captain Jenna Hawk, leader of the last human fleet, knew that their time was running out. The fleet was low on supplies, morale was at an all-time low, and the alien forces were preparing for their final strike. But a single piece of intelligence had arrived, a message that could change everything. The Starlight Key. If they could find it, they might just have a chance to defeat the aliens once and for all. Jenna gathered her most trusted team, a small group of soldiers and engineers, to embark on a dangerous mission. The weapon was said to be hidden on a forgotten moon deep in enemy-controlled space. If they could reach it, the key might just be powerful enough to destroy the alien fleet. With no time to waste, they set off on their journey, knowing it was a one-way trip. The alien empire was watching every move, and their ships were closing in. Jenna's team was their last hope. The journey was tense. As they traveled deeper into enemy territory, the quiet of space seemed to weigh on them. The thought of what they were about to do, risk everything for a chance at survival, hung heavily in the air. The crew barely spoke, each lost in their thoughts, knowing they might not return. Jenna's second-in-command, Lieutenant Eric Carter, was the first to break the silence. "Captain," he said, his voice low, "what if it's a trap? What if the key isn't even real?" Jenna turned to him, her expression serious. "It has to be real, Eric. The alternative is we all die here, without even a chance to fight back. We have to believe it's real, or we have nothing." Eric nodded, but the doubt remained in his eyes. As the days passed, the tension only grew. The closer they got to their destination, the more they realized just how dangerous their mission was. The moon where the weapon was hidden was surrounded by a powerful alien fleet. Getting in unnoticed would be nearly impossible. Then, one evening, as the crew sat in silence, a warning light flashed on the ship's control panel. An alien patrol ship was closing in on them. "All hands prepare for battle," Jenna ordered. The crew sprang into action. They had to act quickly. The alien patrol ship was faster, more advanced, and heavily armed. There was no way they could fight it head-on without being destroyed. Jenna's heart raced, but she knew they couldn't afford to lose. This mission was too important. "Captain, we need to make a run for it," Eric shouted from the control room. "If we don't move now, we're dead." Jenna clenched her fists. There was no choice. "Prepare to engage stealth mode. We're going to outrun them." With the ship's engines roaring, they pushed the limits of their technology. The small human vessel darted through the stars, using every bit of speed they had. The alien ship pursued them, firing blasts of energy that missed by mere inches. Jenna's heart raced. They had to make it to the moon. If they could just reach it, they might be safe. For what felt like hours, they fought to stay ahead, twisting and turning through asteroid fields and dodging enemy fire. The crew was exhausted, but Jenna refused to give up. She couldn't let them fail, not when the Starlight Key was within reach. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the moon. The alien ship was still hot on their tail, but they had made it. The moon was small, almost unnoticeable in the vastness of space. It was the perfect place to hide a weapon if anyone could find it. "We've made it," Jenna breathed, her voice filled with relief. "Now, we find the key." The team descended to the surface of the moon. It was an eerie, desolate place, covered in dust and ancient ruins. There were no signs of life, only strange markings on the ground that seemed to point the way forward. They followed the markings, their steps echoing in the silence. The further they went, the more the feeling of dread crept in. They had no idea what kind of weapon they were looking for, but the stakes were high. Every second counted. The alien ship would be landing soon, and they had to find the Starlight Key before it was too late. After hours of searching, they finally found it, a large, glowing crystal, pulsating with a strange, otherworldly energy. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, and it seemed to hum with power. But as Jenna reached out to touch it, the ground beneath them began to tremble. "The aliens are here!" Eric shouted, his voice filled with fear. "We have to go NOW." Without thinking, Jenna grabbed the crystal. It was warm to the touch, and as soon as she held it, the energy surged through her, filling her with strength and clarity. "Let's move!" she ordered. They ran back to the ship, the alien forces closing in. As they took off into space, Jenna's mind raced. The Starlight Key had changed her. She could feel its power coursing through her veins. It was more than just a weapon. It was a new hope for humanity. And with it, they were ready to take the fight to the alien empire. The journey had just begun, and the battle for the future of the galaxy was far from over. The war between humanity and the alien empire had been raging for years. No matter how hard they fought, the humans were always outmatched. The aliens had technology beyond anything the humans could imagine, and their forces seemed endless. Humanity was losing. Every day, more planets fell, more cities burned, and more lives were lost. But then, in the ruins of a once great human city, a strange discovery was made. Deep beneath the rubble, an ancient artifact was uncovered, a glowing stone, unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It pulsed with an energy that seemed to hum with power. It was unlike the advanced alien technology humanity had encountered, and yet it felt familiar. Captain Sarah Blake, leader of a small human resistance unit, had been sent to investigate the find. She had seen the destruction firsthand, and she knew time was running out. As she stood in the shadow of the ruined city, staring down at the stone, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was something far more than just a weapon. It was something hidden, something that had been forgotten by time. And it might be humanity's last hope. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Lieutenant David Hall asked, his voice low and filled with doubt. "This thing, it looks dangerous." Sarah nodded. "We have to try, David. If it can help us fight back, it's our only chance. We don't have much left." As Sarah and her team carefully examined the stone, something unexpected happened. The stone began to glow brighter, its energy increasing. Then, with a sudden burst, a wave of power shot out from it. The air crackled, and for a moment, everything went dark. When Sarah opened her eyes again, she felt different. The air around her felt charged, alive with energy. She felt stronger, faster, like something deep inside her had awakened. "What just happened?" David gasped, picking himself up from the ground. Sarah stood up slowly, her mind racing. She felt an overwhelming surge of power coursing through her veins, as if the stone had unlocked something within her. It was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. "I don't know," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "But I think it's in me now." The power was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. She could feel her senses heightening, her thoughts becoming clearer, faster. Her body felt stronger, as if she could take on the entire alien army with her bare hands. It was like she had tapped into something ancient, something hidden deep within the human race. But as she looked at her team, she saw the fear in their eyes. They had witnessed what had just happened. The stone's power wasn't just a weapon, it was a force that could change everything. And yet, they didn't understand it. None of them did. "We need to get this back to the resistance base," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We need to figure out what this is, and how to use it." The journey back was long and dangerous. Alien patrols roamed the area, hunting down any remaining human forces. But with the power from the stone coursing through her, Sarah felt invincible. Every step was effortless, every obstacle easily overcome. Her team followed her, amazed at the changes in her. She could hear their whispers as they marveled at her newfound strength, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Maya's body trembled as the power from the crystal coursed through her. It was more than she could handle, but she couldn't stop it. The prophecy had chosen her. She had unlocked the power, but now she had to control it. When she finally stood up, the crystal was no longer glowing. It had transferred its power to her. Maya could feel it deep inside her, an incredible strength, a power that no human should have. But with this power came a great responsibility. Maya knew that the prophecy wasn't just about defeating the aliens. It was about balance, about knowing when to fight and when to hold back. The power was dangerous, and using it recklessly could destroy everything. As she prepared to leave the station, Maya's communicator crackled to life. It was her old commander, General Edwards. "Maya," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "We've found you. The alien fleet is moving in on your position. We need you back NOW." Maya took a deep breath. The prophecy had led her here, to this moment. She now held the power to change the course of the war, but she also knew the price of using it. She had to make a choice. The aliens were coming, and the fate of humanity rested in her hands. Would she use the power she had unlocked to defeat the enemy, or would she risk everything to protect the future? As the alien ships appeared on the horizon, Maya made her decision. She would not let the power control her. She would use it, but only when the time was right. The battle was about to begin, and Maya was ready. The war between humanity and the alien empire had stretched on for years. Humanity's forces were fighting back bravely, but it was clear the aliens were always one step ahead. The human fleet was growing weaker, and more colonies were falling under alien control each day. The situation was grim. Captain Mark Steele was used to leading through chaos. He had seen his fair share of battles, and he had led his team through them all. But something was different this time. Something felt off. Lately, he had noticed strange behavior among his crew, something that didn't sit right. It was subtle at first, unexplained absences, misplaced equipment, small mistakes that added up, but then it got worse. And Mark had a feeling the enemy wasn't just out there. The enemy might be within. It all started when Lieutenant Karen Voss, one of his most trusted officers, began acting strangely. At first, it was just a small incident, a slip of the tongue during a briefing, a distant look in her eyes when Mark spoke to her. But soon, others in the crew began to show similar signs. Mark's sharp instincts told him something was wrong, but he had no proof. He had always trusted his crew, but now doubt was creeping in. Who could he trust? "Captain," Karen said one morning, her voice calm but with an edge. "I've analyzed the data from the last battle. There's something strange about the alien ship we encountered. It doesn't make sense. It's too advanced, even for them." Mark studied her face. There was something in her eyes, something that didn't match her usual steady demeanor. He had known Karen for years, and something about her felt different now. He decided to keep his suspicions to himself for now. But it didn't ease the growing feeling in his gut. If someone on the ship was working for the aliens, it could mean the end of everything. Days passed, and the strange behavior among his crew continued. Mark grew more vigilant, watching everyone carefully. His crew was all he had left. They had been through so much together, but now the very people he depended on seemed like strangers. One night, Mark received a distress call from one of his scouts. They had located an alien vessel hidden on the outskirts of the sector, a vessel that shouldn't have been there. It was too close to their base of operations. Mark knew this could be a trap, but he had no choice. If they didn't act fast, the aliens could ambush them at any moment. "We're going in," Mark ordered, his voice sharp. "Prepare for battle." As they approached the location of the alien ship, tension filled the air. The crew was silent, everyone focused on their tasks. Mark stood in the command center, eyes scanning the readings, waiting for any sign of danger. But the silence was deafening. It felt too quiet, like the calm before a storm. "Captain, we've made contact with the alien ship," Karen said, her voice betraying no emotion. "It's charging weapons." Mark's pulse quickened. This was it. But as the ship's weapons fired, something strange happened. Their shields were down before they could even react. Mark barely had time to give orders before their ship was hit, the entire crew thrown off balance by the force of the blast. "We're taking damage," shouted Lieutenant James, another trusted officer. "We need to return." "Fire, Captain." But Mark wasn't listening. His mind was racing. It didn't make sense. They had prepared for an ambush. Their shields should have held. This was no normal attack. "Something's wrong," Mark muttered under his breath. And then it hit him, this wasn't a random alien ship. This was too coordinated. He looked at Karen, standing at the comm station, her face calm, but her eyes. Her eyes were different now. He saw the briefest flicker of something behind her calm exterior. Fear, or maybe something worse? Karen, Mark said, his voice low, where did you get that data? She froze, her hand hovering over the controls. Mark's heart raced. This wasn't just about the alien ship. It was about the ship under his command. His team. The crew he had trusted for so long. Captain? Karen said, a hint of uncertainty creeping into her voice. Before Mark could respond, the lights in the command center flickered, and the entire ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the hull was hit again. Mark slammed his hand on the console, making a decision in that instant. We need to get to the engine room. Now, he said urgently. He sprinted down the hall, Karen at his heels. The feeling in his gut was undeniable now there was a traitor aboard. The enemy wasn't just outside, it was inside, and it was closer than he realized. As Mark entered the engine room, he found James, standing near the control panel, looking at him with wide, nervous eyes. But then, in a split second, Mark saw something he couldn't ignore, a small metallic object glinting in James' hand. It was alien technology, the kind Mark had seen before in the hands of the enemy. James, what's that? Mark demanded, stepping closer. Before James could answer, Karen moved fast, too fast, and she reached for her sidearm, aiming it directly at Mark. Mark froze, his mind racing. It wasn't just one of his officers. It was more than that. The enemy had infiltrated his crew. The truth hit him like a ton of bricks. There was no escape. The alien empire had already won, not by force, but by turning his own people against him. Why? Mark whispered, feeling betrayed. Because we were promised victory, Karen said coldly. You were never supposed to win. We've been waiting for you to make the first move. In that moment, Mark realized the worst betrayal was not from the enemy outside, but from within his own ranks. The war between humanity and the alien empire had lasted for decades. Earth cities were in ruins, and the surviving human colonies scattered across the stars were slowly being picked off one by one. It seemed like the end was inevitable. The aliens were too powerful, their technology far beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. They were always one step ahead. But there was one thing the aliens hadn't counted on: human resilience. The human race was stubborn. And even in the face of extinction, humans never stopped fighting. Dr. Elena Carter, one of humanity's most brilliant scientists, had been working on a project that could change everything. She called it the final evolution. It was a secret weapon, one that could give humans the edge they needed to finally stand against the alien empire. But no one knew exactly what it was, and even Dr. Carter herself wasn't sure if it would work. For years, she had been studying alien biology, studying how the enemy adapted and evolved. She discovered something incredible. The aliens had a unique ability to evolve rapidly, adjusting to threats in real time. They could learn from every battle and become stronger with every defeat. But what if humanity could do the same? What if humans could evolve too? It was a dangerous idea, one that could have disastrous consequences, but Dr. Carter was desperate. She had to try. If she could unlock this ability in humans, they might finally have a chance to win the war. One night, Dr. Carter stood in front of the large glass tank in her lab. Inside, a glowing liquid swirled, holding the key to humanity's future. The serum she had created was a mixture of human DNA and alien genetic material. It was unstable, dangerous, and untested. But if it worked, it would allow humans to evolve in ways they had never imagined. Her assistant, Alex, stood beside her, looking uneasy. Are you sure about this, Doctor? He asked. If something goes wrong. I don't have a choice, Alex, Dr. Carter replied, her voice steady. The war is losing. We don't have time to wait for a solution. This is our last chance. Alex hesitated for a moment before nodding. I'll help you, but we need to be careful. Dr. Carter carefully injected a small amount of the serum into a test subject, a volunteer soldier named Michael. He was strong, fit, and had the heart of a warrior. He was the perfect candidate to test the serum. As the serum began to take effect, Michael's body twitched, his muscles spasming as the transformation began. The room filled with a faint glow, and a strange energy crackled in the air. For a moment, everything seemed still. Then, Michael opened his eyes, and Dr. Carter gasped. The soldier was no longer the man he had been. His eyes glowed with a strange light, his muscles rippling with unnatural strength. His mind, too, was sharper, quicker. He could think faster, react quicker, and understand complex problems in an instant. The serum had worked. But something about Michael was different. Something was off. "Michael?" Dr. Carter asked, stepping forward cautiously. His gaze locked with hers, and for a moment she saw something cold in his eyes. He didn't speak, but there was an intensity there, a hunger for something more. The transformation had given him power, but at what cost? "We need to stop this, Elena," Alex said urgently, his voice trembling. "This isn't what we planned. We don't know what the serum is doing to him." But it was too late. Michael moved with lightning speed, grabbing Alex by the arm and throwing him across the room with ease. Dr. Carter stepped back, her heart racing. The serum had done more than she'd expected. It had amplified Michael's abilities beyond anything she had imagined. But now, she realized, she had unleashed something far more dangerous than she had anticipated. "Michael, listen to me," Dr. Carter said, trying to stay calm. "You're not just a weapon. You're still human. You can control this." But Michael didn't respond. Instead, he turned and ran toward the door, bursting through it with terrifying strength. Dr. Carter rushed after him, Alex trailing behind, but by the time they reached the hallway, Michael was already gone. The next few days were a blur of chaos. Michael's power had grown at an alarming rate, and he was no longer the man they had known. The serum had awakened something primal in him, a drive for more power, more control. He was no longer human, he had evolved beyond that. And now, he was out of control. Dr. Carter knew they had to stop him. She had to find a way to reverse the serum's effects before Michael became a threat to humanity itself. But she didn't know how. She had created the serum, but now it was turning against her. As she and Alex searched for Michael, they began to hear rumors, whispers that a strange, powerful figure was leading attacks against alien strongholds. The stories described a soldier who could move faster than any human, who was stronger than anything they had ever faced. Michael had become a living weapon, a force of nature. And he wasn't just fighting for humanity anymore, he was fighting for his own vision of what the future should be. Dr. Carter realized the truth. The final evolution wasn't just a weapon. It was a path, a way for humanity to evolve into something far greater than they had ever imagined. But that evolution came with a cost. If they didn't stop Michael soon, he would change the course of the war forever, and possibly destroy humanity in the process. The final showdown between Michael and Dr. Carter was inevitable. She had created the very thing that could either save or destroy them all. As the two faced off, Dr. Carter realized that Michael wasn't just fighting for power, he was fighting for the future of humanity itself. But was he the savior they had hoped for, or the monster they feared?